Welcome to the third episode of The Way to Change. Make yourself comfortable, hopefully more than me in this rest position, and let's keep the introduction. This episode is gonna focus on the first cracks of change. This part here is the hardest of the whole route, and it took me several days to figure out the right beta for me. First thing I did is to try Adam's beta, and I immediately figured out I had to find something else. So I had to find another way to pass the cracks that includes some huge swing and before a very precise knee bar. But let's go back to the first part of the route, where it starts from the ground. The very first part of the route is not super hard. The moves are quite easy until I reach a double undercling where I can rest a bit and clip the second quick throw. And from there it starts a little boulder problem that is I think around 7C or V9 until a very bad rest on a sloper. When I arrived to this slopey edge, I think the best thing was not to rest too much, because then I was going to be more pumped than before. Because after this little rest, there was a sort of mental and another rest with a little knee bar. And here it is, the mantle before the rest with the knee bar. It wasn't a good knee bar, it was just like touching the rock with the with the knee pad. And I rested maybe 30 seconds on this position, because after this there was the main crux of the first pitch of the route. And from here starts the hardest part of the whole route. After trying for a few tries Adam's beta, I figure out I'm not that flexible, so I had to find my own beta to pass these weird moves. Here there is the knee bar, which is the hardest knee bar I ever done, and I had to be very precise to pass these cracks, because sometimes the knee bar just stays where I put it, and sometimes it's just slip off the rock, and I don't know why. And after several days trying the moves of these cracks, the beta was pretty clear for me. Right foot up, knee bar, match this sloppy cream, and then shoulder on the right side and go again to a very little crack at the end of this dihedral. But then the hardest part was to hold this huge swing, holding with the hand through very little creams. And it took me several days to get more comfortable on this section. And when I was starting to feel more comfortable on the swing, this weird and scary thing happened. When I was swinging, my left hand slipped and I fell with my neck on the rope. You can see here better in slow motion. And this never happened to me before in any route, and happened for the first time here in Flatanger. Even if it seems a little bit funny, it wasn't for me. And I got just a bit burn under my neck, and it happened actually twice. The first was okay, but the second one was a bit worse. Fortunately, it was nothing serious, and we found this solution to avoid this thing. I asked the belayer, Sara, a bit more slack, so I could fall softly but without hitting the ground, even if I was very close. This was the only solution. And I started feeling comfortable again trying these cracks. And from here you can see the actual steepness of the route. And finally I passed the whole cracks without falling, and it was a huge step ahead because I knew from this moment I could do the route. And even if I was just trying the first pitch of the route, I knew I was very close, because I started from the boulder problem and went up to the first anchor of the route. After the cracks there was this rest. It was quite good, even if it was very steep, so I stayed there not too long. But then the first route was not very over, because from here there was another little crux that it concerned me a bit, because I was a little bit pumped from the first cracks, and the rest here was not the best rest in the world. But after this cross, I knew I was going to go to the first anchor, because the holes were going to be a bit bigger, and this part was going to be in common with the Muy Verdes, the HC I climbed on the first day of the trip. On the first days of this trip to Flatanger, I decided to focus on the first pitch of change. The goal was first to send the first pitch, and then check out the second part, which I actually had a go before sending the first pitch, but it was just a fast go to see how it was the route until the very top. And after several days of trying the first part, I finally climbed the whole route. And after the cracks, when I passed the cracks, I never failed in this part. So I decided to set up a static rope to the first anchor of change to go to study the second crux of the route without climbing every time the first pitch of the route. Calling the parts of a change pitch 1 and pitch 2, I think it's a bit confusing because some of you asked me if it was like a multi-pitch, so after the first pitch I could rest hanging and then go for the second part, but actually it's just one whole route. So when I started from the ground to send the whole change, I have to climb the whole route without stopping on the anchor. It seems obvious for me and for many climbers, but many of you asked, so now I think it's clear for everybody. And this was the anchor of the first part of change, and in the next episode there will be the uncut video of the first pitch of change.